Welcome to the Ronni Resonance Podcast, a space for women in transition, becoming, and rebirth. I'm Ronni, an intuitive guide, mentor, and multi-dimensional human learning right alongside you. Here we explore identity shifts, intuition, alignment, purpose, and the deeper truths you've been feeling but maybe haven't said out loud yet. This is where you return to yourself, gently, honestly, and with resonance. Take a breath. You're exactly where you're meant to be. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Ronni Resonance Podcast. If you're new here, my name is Ronni, and this space is for women navigating all sorts of things and really learning how to come back to themselves. And today I want to talk about self-trust, because I think a lot of people assume that self-trust is something that you either have or you don't. Like, people are naturally confident in themselves, and other people spend their lives just second guessing every decision that they make. But honestly, when I look back now, I don't think self-trust was something that I needed to find. I think it was actually always there within me. I just think there was a lot of experiences that slowly taught me how to not listen to it. And what's really interesting is that one of the biggest decisions that I've made recently was closing my spa. But the decision itself wasn't actually the hard part. The hard part was trusting what I already knew before I had any proof that it was the right thing to do. And the more that I've reflected on that, the more that I've realized that this has actually been the lesson of my entire life. When I look back now, I can see that there were all of these little moments that slowly taught me to not trust myself. And it wasn't just one huge event. It was just really years of small experiences. I talked in other podcast episodes about getting diagnosed at 6 years old with anxiety and ADHD. And, I was always that kid who was taking longer to process information. I had to go to summer school every summer in elementary school. I constantly felt behind. I felt different. I was very emotional and very sensitive all the time about literally everything. And so all of those things made me feel like something was wrong with the way that my brain worked. So growing up, I was one of 5 siblings in a blended family, and I was always being compared. Nobody actually wants to do that. I don't think anyone's intentionally trying to compare you to anybody, but it just naturally happens, especially when it's a blended family. So I was noticing that, I don't know if I was noticing it, but I know that my family would get frustrated because I would be, I would take longer to get ready than everybody else. And I would take forever when I would go shopping or in the dressing room, and I would just always be struggling with timing. So school, it didn't fit how my brain learned. Even one story, when I was in driving school and I was driving with like an adult, and they asked me like, okay, we're going to go down this road. Which way are you going to take? And in that moment, my brain thought, I know this route is going to take me home. I'm assuming the other route will too, but I'm just going to take this route. And the person got mad at me and was like, well, no, this way is faster. And it's like, well, you didn't ask me which way was faster. So there was just things that I felt like, every time it seemed like a no-brainer thing that I knew or could answer or whatever, it still was wrong. So I think that during all of those moments in my life, they caused a lot of issues where I wasn't really learning how to actually trust myself. I was learning how to more so question myself. Like, is this answer going to be right or wrong? Because I feel like 9 times out of 10, I'm wrong. It feels like, anyway. And I think that's where I really started to look outside of myself, because if I couldn't trust myself, surely somebody else had the answer. I would ask somebody else. So that it started a pattern where I really started asking for other opinions. I wanted the reassurance, the confirmation, the validation. I would ask the question and I would watch reactions, or I would tell somebody what I was doing and I would see their reaction. And so there was a point where I stopped asking people for advice because I went through therapy and, I realized I didn't need the validation. But then what I slowly did after that was I was still watching the reactions. So it wasn't so much of asking a question or wasn't asking them, should I do this? It was like, hey, I'm doing this. And you just kind of wait and see. And so that was just still another form of validation as far as what I was doing and what other people thought about it. I think there is a difference between sharing your life with people and, seeking that approval, whether you're questioning or just telling them and waiting for that reaction. And I think that's where we slowly start abandoning ourselves without realizing that we're doing it, because every time that we override ourselves, we lose a little bit more trust within ourselves. I've spent plenty of times people pleasing, just trying to keep the peace because I knew something that I didn't want to say that might upset somebody, or the person didn't make me feel comfortable to express myself. And I was really protecting other people's feelings and emotions than thinking about how I felt. So I would just stay quiet. And even when it came to business with either my business partner or with clients or different things, I would try to keep that professionalism so much and not wanting to, upset people. I was really worried about my reputation a lot of the time and not wanting to be perceived as whatever. I didn't want to cause issues, right? And that's not just in business, that's in so many different aspects. We just want to stay neutral and think that we're being the bigger person when sometimes we really should say what's on our mind, honestly. So, we shouldn't be afraid to upset people. Like, looking back, there was a lot of times that I already knew exactly how I felt in a certain thing, but I just didn't say it. And what I've realized is that the anxiety of not actually saying how you feel or what's on your mind really becomes worse than actually just saying it, right? So even like stating those boundaries, it's really uncomfortable to say that, but in your soul that that's what's right for you. And if you trust yourself in setting that boundary, you'll feel better after doing it. Like, oh, I did it, But I think by continuing to allow somebody to do whatever to you that you don't like and not saying anything, then you're just miserable dealing with this person. And, so it's important that we speak honestly about how I feel without needing to over-explain anything, because I think when we over-explain, that's another form of people pleasing. We have to learn that honesty and kindness can coexist together. Like, you can tell somebody exactly how you feel and be direct and say that, and that's still kind, even if you didn't say it in the way that maybe they wanted to receive it. You're not responsible for their emotions and how they receive that. You can only control yourself. And so if your intention was right in that moment of how you addressed the thing that you didn't like, or you want to stop or whatever, you can't help that. Even though you had the best intentions, like, you can't help how the other person's going to take that. So when people ask me how to trust their intuition, like how to trust when it's time to stop something or to set that boundary or whatever, I think that when we ask how to trust our intuition, I actually think that we're asking the wrong question, because I don't think the question is, how do I trust my intuition? I think the question really is, how do I hear my intuition after just years of ignoring it? Because in my opinion, and this may not be true for everybody else, but from what I've experienced of trying to trust my intuition and what that is, how I know when it's intuition stuff, the way I know that it's intuition, I've learned in my human design chart that I am supposed to trust that first hit, the first thing that comes up, the first feeling that I get, the first thought that I get. Let's say somebody asks me something and the very first thing that comes to mind, that is the answer. And it's immediate. It's just like this knowing on like a knowing level, but even just like a body feeling that you just feel. And so it's almost like a quiet certainty, right? So with fear, I think people get this confused because we think like intuition and fear are the same thing or they coexist or whatever. But to me, fear really is more like racing thoughts. It's the what ifs that, start to come up. You start to spiral on the situation. You have these like endless questions. And so what happens is for me is that my intuition comes up and I get it. But then the logical mind, the monkey mind, or whatever you want to call it, kicks in. And that's when those extra thoughts come in. And that's when fear steps in. Fear is always secondary. Intuition should come up the first initial hit, your initial feeling that you get when someone says something or asks you a question. So I want to talk about this for a second because I think this is really important. I want to tell a story that recently happened to me. So I had a recent opportunity come to me. And initially, this opportunity was something that I was not thinking about doing, but it was presented to me. And so it opened up my mind a little bit about it and if that was going to be something that would be beneficial to me. So I started exploring it and I made the decision that I would go ahead and proceed with this. But I had some things I had to wait on until I was fully ready. When I went to go meet with this person and do the whole thing, I felt really good, right? I felt good about the energy in the space, but there was something. From the very moment, there was just something, and I couldn't put my finger on it. But I kept it in my back pocket. And I kept telling myself, if this opportunity is meant to work, something will come up and it will either confirm this weird feeling that I can't put my finger on just yet of why I'm feeling this way, or it'll confirm it in a way that's like, don't do this type of thing. Because I had a good feeling about it, but there was something about that was lingering there that was like, I don't know. Something is off and I can't figure it out. Fast forward about a month later, something does happen and I realize, I don't know if this is the right opportunity for me. I'm not loving this. And now I have a better understanding of why I had this weird feeling that day. So I kind of put that on the back burner. I don't really say no to it yet, but I'm like, I don't know. Another opportunity from the past meaning 6 months prior, came back around because it wasn't quite ready back then. And, I decided, I'm going to go meet with this person. We're going to explore this. I felt excited. Because I was supposed to go meet with somebody else. And that morning I was like, I don't know, I'm not feeling it. But there was something different about this morning about going to this other place where I was like very excited. I was energized, all the things. And I go there and the opportunity is amazing. And I essentially accept that opportunity. When I go home, I'm still excited. That whole rest of the day, I'm just trying to get it to like hit me that just happened. This is something that I've been wanting for a really long time. And I'm trying to like tell like, hey, this just happened, like be excited. But there's still something because I feel like I've been climbing for so long to get where I want to go that it just doesn't feel real. Then the next day, I'm emotional, I'm crying, I'm all the things. And what I realized with the first opportunity is that there was part of me I felt like knew that this may not go through, and I don't know if I'm 100% about that. So I didn't put too much emotional attachment to it, nothing. However, this other one, the next day, I realized I sat there and I'm like, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel anxiety and stressed and scared and like the next thing's gonna drop and all of the things. And my body still felt excited that day. Like I still felt excited like that next day, but it was just that my mind was the thing like panicking. What I realized was that the whole thing I was afraid of is that this was such a big opportunity that I was scared about my own self-trust. And what I thought was me being scared of trusting other people was really about me being scared of trusting myself and like allowing people to act however they act. And I'm able to still hold myself at the end of the day. So I realized that it was it was more about trusting that first initial hit, and that I think I'm going to have some emotions even in an opportunity that's right. And especially if it's a big one, especially if it's something that could change my life, especially if it's something that is something you've asked for a really long time. There's a lot of reasons why the fears could come up, and it's still a good opportunity, and the fear can still come up, but it doesn't mean that that's wrong. The thing is that there was no fear from the very beginning. There was nothing in the interaction with this person that I felt fearful of any way, there, or had any lingering feelings or thoughts, but the other opportunity I did. And so I was able to compare those two things and realize that, okay, this other one, that was like legitly my intuition being like, something's off here and you need to pay attention to that. And then it proved me right. And then the second one was like, this is a perfect opportunity, but it was like, it becomes scary when something is really good and the fear comes in and you're like, oh my gosh, is this the right thing? So it's important to not let the fear win and let intuition win, right? The first opportunity was all about just watch how this plays out, because this probably isn't for you. Something's going, and it wasn't like, oh, the ball's going to drop, like I'm being a negative and just fearful. It was like, no, something tells me that this isn't going to happen, and it's not going to be from me. It's going to be because something's going to tell me don't do this. And that happened. And then the second one, it was like, do it. And then that's where it gets scary, because it's like, oh my God, this is happening. So I don't know. I think that is a huge thing where, the realization I've had through that and other experiences is that I've really started trusting the first hit that I get, because that first hit is intuition, and everything after that is the fear just trying to keep me safe.